What's up, guys? Derek here with Tap and Turn Gaming, coming at you today with an EDH DeckTech. Today's DeckTech is a subscriber-requested deck by Tyler Ostkowski. He wanted to see my take on a Mogis God of Slaughter deck with a heavy reanimation theme, so that's what we went with. So as you can see, Mogis God of Slaughter, reanimation. Pretty basic, as I just said. The general, Mogis God of Slaughter. He is a 4-cost, 7/5 indestructible legendary enchantment creature god. With, as long as your devotion to black and red is less than 7, he's not a creature. You know, all the gods have that clause. And at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Mogis deals 2 damage to that player unless he or she sacrifices a creature. So basically the way he plays out is your opponents are going to take the 2 damage for a while until they can't take the 2 damage anymore, and then you're just going to start to win that battle of attrition. His effect isn't super, effective in the beginning, but late game he does apply a lot of good pressure doing that. Your opponent will probably take his ability 8, or I would say no more than 8 times for like 16 damage before they start to realize they just need to sacrifice creatures. And, they'll probably start doing that unless they can remove him. But he's also a 7/5, which is nothing to laugh at. That puts him in a 3-strike range for being a KO general. That's pretty cool. So first we'll go over the lands, just to get those out of the way. We have Akum Refuge, Auntie's Hovel, Badlands, Blackcleave Cliffs, Blood Crypt, Bloodfell Caves, Bajuka Bog, Cabal Coffers, Dragon Skull Summit, Lava Claw Reaches, 10 Mountains, Rakdos Carnarium, Rakdos Guildgate, Reflecting Pool, Shadowblood Ridge, 9 Swamps, 1 Temple of Malice, Trestlehorn Sinks, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, Urborg Volcano, and Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. Tyler didn't ask for any particular budget on it, so I just went with a bunch of different red-black dual lands. Pretty basic. For enchantments, we run attrition. Because this is a reanimation theme, we are going to use our creatures as a source of power. So we're going to be paying the black to sacrifice one of our creatures to reanimate it later to destroy one of the opponent's creatures. Dictated Erebos, same sort of idea. Flame Shadow Conjuring, since we are going to be reanimating, we might as well have that pay off by making copies of them. Grave Pact is another copy of Dictated Erebos. Mind Slash serves a similar function to attrition, whereas we will sacrifice our creatures to make the opponent discard. Oversold Cemetery is a piece of our recursion engine, as is Palace Siege, which we will generally choose cons to be able to return creatures to the graveyard, unless we want dragons to get that 2 life, that we can. Because actually, even if you choose the dragon side, would they lose 2 life a turn, that does also pair well with Mogis and his 2 damage a turn, so it really does have some nice synergy with either mode you choose, but 9 times out of 10 we're going to go with choosing the cons to get the creature recursion. So that takes care of the lands and the enchantments. For Planeswalkers, the only one I opted in for was Liliana of the Dark Realms. I know there's a plethora of good red and black Planeswalkers. I went to go with Liliana so I could focus more on the creatures, and she lets us hit our land drops, and that was pretty much the reason why. That every turn, you're going to search for a swamp, search for a swamp, search for a swamp. In that niche situation where you might need to take out a creature, you can with her, but it's mostly just in there to be able to make sure you hit your land drops and get up in the lands. For artifacts, we are in Cauldron of Souls for the Reanimator theme, Conjurer's Closet, because we have a lot of Enter the Battlefield abilities that we're going to be taking advantage of, with the Resurrection theme, so Conjurer's Closet will help us to reuse those anyways. Then we have Kolaghan's Monument for some mana ramp with a little bit of late game beater. Minion Reflector, since we are rezzing, we might as well also just copy it, make tokens of them, make copies of them. It serves a similar purpose to Flame Shadow Conjuring. Rakdos Cluestone, Key Rune, and Signet, just more mana ramp, and Strionic Resonator to copy our Enter the Battlefield abilities, much the way Conjurer's Closet will for us. So that's the purpose that Strionic Resonator will be serving. For our instance, we are running Cauldron Dance, because Cauldron Dance is a fun spell, 6 mana cost. Play Cauldron Dance only during combat, and you get to return target creature card from your graveyard to play. That creature gains haste and return to your hand at the end of turn, and put a creature card from your hand into the play. That creature gains haste and put it into the graveyard at the end of turn. So for 6 mana, you get to put a creature into play from your hand, put a creature into play from your graveyard, and they more or less switch spots at the end of turn. The one from your hand goes to the graveyard, and the one from your graveyard goes to your hand. But it lets you put 2 creatures into play at instant speed during combat and trigger their abilities. This is a nice spell. I mean, It really is. Then we have Foul Renewal, 4 mana for an instant. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And target creature gets -X, where X was the toughness of the creature that you returned. So 4 mana to get a creature back to our hand and removal all in one. That's really nice. Grim Return, 3 mana to get back one of our creatures that just died. Has to be the same turn they died. That's pretty cool. I like it. Instant speed. Kolaghan's Command is the reason why this card is going for $10. It's 3 mana, choose 2, return target creature from your graveyard to your hand, or target player discards a card, or destroy target artifact, or Kolaghan's Command deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Great value, great modes, auto-include. Makeshift Mannequin is a 4 mana instant speed resurrection spell. And Wake the Dead because it's fun. 2 mana with an X. Cast Wake of Dead only during combat and on an opponent's turn. Return X target creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Sacrifice those creatures at the beginning of the next end step. Basically, you can invest, 2 black and then 5, res 5 creatures, get all those at the battlefield abilities. Excuse me, and then at the end of turn they die again. But that's alright, because it's fun, so who cares? For sorceries, we're running Black Sun Zenith because it's a sweeper, Damnation for the sweeper, Dark Petition for the tutor, Decree of Pain for the sweeper, tutor, Diabolic Tutor, another tutor, Revelation's a tutor, Dread Return, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield for 4 mana, and you can flash it back by sacking 3 creatures. It's in there for the flashback, so you can potentially use it twice. So that's pretty cool. Extinguish All Hope, another sweeper. Increase Ambition, another tutor. Languish, another sweeper. Life's Finale, another sweeper. Morgue Burst is another really, really cool spell that I think gets highly underrated. It's a 6 mana sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Morgue Burst deals damage to target creature or player equal to the card's the power of the card returned this way. So it basically is, it's very similar function to Foul Renewal, except that it can also hit a player and it does it off their power rather than their toughness. And so it's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun spell late game when you're returning something like a Steel Hellkite and smashing something for 6 damage and you get the Steel Hellkite back to your hand. A Wormcoil Engine. So it's got some fun stuff in it. Mutilate, kill stuff. Profane Command, great spell. 2 black and X, choose 2. Target player loses X life, or res a creature with X or less for its mana cost, or target creature gets -X, or up to X target creatures gain fear. Great modes altogether. Stitch Together. This one's a cool card too, I like it a lot. 2 mana sorcery, return target creature from your graveyard to your hand, and if you have Threshold, it goes right to play. So, 2 mana to get it back to your hand, possibility to get it right into play, really, really cool. Torrent of Souls is another sorcery that we're running, 5 mana cost, return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If black was spent to cast this, it gets +2/+0, and it gains haste if red was spent. So you're generally going to be paying the black and the red, so it's going to get a +2/+0 in haste, and that's pretty cool. And then Victimize. Victimize is really, really nice. I've liked this spell for a long time. It is a 3-cost sorcery. Choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, return the 2 chosen creatures to the battlefield tapped. So for the price of one of my creatures, I can get 2 back for only 3 mana. I will take that just about every time. Now, for the last part of the deck, we do have our creatures. Pretty much everything has an enter the battlefield ability that I can, use to my best advantage. So we'll go over them. We have Aberrant Overlord. The great thing about Aberrant Overlord is that he brings guys with him, and that's why I like him a lot. At a 7-cost 6/6, he's minimum going to bring 2 1/1 flyers. So for me, he's only slightly worse than Grave Titan. Now I know Grave Titan does have the added ability that he gives you zombies when he attacks, but he doesn't give you flyers. So I think for me, they range pretty much the same. Then we have Anarchist to get back our sorceries. Archfiend of Depravity because he will kill everything but 2 creatures that the opponents control at the end of the turn. That's really nice. Bloodgift Demon to draw some cards. Bogart and Hellkite to do some damage. Butcher of Malakir, which is a creature version of Grave Pact. Duplicant for some removal. Fanatic of Mogis, just to do some damage, really. When you start recurring him again and again and again, that damage is going to start to stack up. Fulminator Mage is going to be great to destroy lands. You just start destroying the lands, res him, destroy the lands, res him. It's how you want to do it. Harvester of Souls. When our creatures die, we're going to draw cards off it. Kiki Jiki, because he is awesome. Mogis the Unhallowed, because he's also awesome, and he gives our guys Undying, which gives them an automatic, really, sort of trigger for Resurrection. Mogis' Marauder is going to give a bunch of our creatures Intimidate and Haste. That's really cool. Overseer of the Damned is nice because when he comes in you can kill something, and as long as he's on the board, whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you get a 2/2 zombie. So that is really nice when paired with like a Grave Pact or a Dictator of Erebos or a Butcher of Malakir. Really goes some distance for you. We have Runescar Demon because he tutors when he comes in. Sepulchral Primordial because when you res him, you also get to res your opponent's stuff. Shieldred for the free reses. Sidisi Undead Vizier for the tutors. Steel Hellkite, so you can blow stuff up that you can't normally touch with red and black. Sting Scourger, because he's bounce. Red doesn't have a lot of ways to bounce things, and Sting Scourge is one of the better ones. And Wormcoil Engine, just because he's a 6-cost 6/6 lifelink death touch. When he dies, you're going to get those 2 guys from him, and then when you res him, you'll get the 6/6 lifelink death toucher again. So that's more or less why. So that pretty much rounds up all the cards. The mana base, the color is pretty much half and half. As far as what we have in the deck, predominantly creatures and sorceries, of course after the lands. Balance, pretty fair balance on enchantments and artifacts with only a little bit of instance. Our mana curve is pretty poor. Nothing at the 0-1 slot, a bunch at 2, a bunch at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But that's mostly because we're not going for really casting for the most part. You know, we're fine with being able to just dump things in the yard, and then after we dump them in the yard, go ahead and res them. That's more or less what we went with. Deck comes in around $400 using TCG. Again, this wasn't a budget deck. This is just something he asked us to throw together to give some ideas. So that's what we did. We just went ahead and threw it together. Mogis got a slot of Reanimation. Hope you can find some ideas from this. Obviously there's some things I maybe could have added in that I didn't realize at the time. Like a Nim Death Mantle I would have probably added in. Could have also added in, let's see, what else would have been good. Puppeteer Click goes infinite with Mogis. Grave Titan I missed. There's always other cards. This is just what I whipped up for you. But Tyler Oskowski, this is Mogis, God of Reanimation and Slaughter. Hope you enjoyed it. This was Derek with Tap and Turn Gaming. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and check out other videos and our upcoming videos soon to come. Thanks a lot, and goodbye.